Hi there, everybody. We are going to do another resume review, and we will start at the top like we do as usual. Again, this person has a pretty good, format at the top, at least, looking at this out of the gate. Looks like it looks, the important stuff is at the top. So, name, this person did not put a full address, so I recommend on a resume, please put a full address on here. If you get hired, they're going to be matching this stuff up with your pilot application. So please put a full address. If you want to make another resume that's de-identified a little bit, maybe with just, not your full address, maybe just the email, phone number, or however you want to de-identify it, that you're going to put in more public places, that's fine. But if you're submitting this resume for, a pilot job, full address, email, phone number, LinkedIn if you have it, and if you don't have it, you should get a LinkedIn and get that set up. Again, on a pilot resume, we're not really worried about your professional summary. Now, they've put a little information here because they've regained a medical, and so there may be something where they got current again. That's good information, but that should go in the cover letter because I don't care about any of this unless I can determine if you're qualified. Then I'm going to worry about the extra stuff. So remove this, and this should be the at the very top. Your flight experience and pilot qualifications. Really, I want to see if you're qualified before I look at your hours, right? So we're going to come down here. So they're a commercial pilot, okay, and FAA, so they're probably trained here. And they have a commercial single engine land and a commercial multi-engine land with instrument. Okay, so probably qualified for a job at an airline with that, right? And meeting ATP minimums if that's what the job requires. I see that they do have an SIC type rating, so that's kind of I wouldn't say a red flag, but I'm going to be looking for some stuff because I want to see how much of their time is PIC time and how much is SIC. SIC time is not very valuable time unless you upgrade in that aircraft at that airline. So we got to really pay attention to their flight time and how much is PIC to determine what they're going to qualify for. Looks like they have done the ATP written. It is completed and they meet the unrestricted ATP minimums. Okay, so that tells me when we look at the hours, whoops, sorry, I put a dot there. I guess I'm still in draw mode. That they must have the ATP hour requirements met, and this is the 1,500 hour requirement is what this tells me. And they have their written done. So this is looking good because, in the current pilot market, a lot of airlines are wanting to see the ATP CTP completed, and the written done. This person has a current valid U.S. passport. Thank you for putting that on there. That helps a lot. And I've talked about this before. There are a lot of green card, foreign passport holder pilots in the mix, okay, that are applying along with you at the same airline. Some airlines can hire those pilots, some can't. So by distinguishing what type of passport you have, you say, I qualify for this job, right? If it's a non-U.S. passport, then we have to do some more looking. What are the requirements for the particular airline? Can they get hired there? Those sort of things. And they have the SCC license, which is required for most airline jobs, so that's great. Current first class medical certificate. And so there looks like this person might have had a medical issue during this time frame, but it's back now. So, we're fine. That's for up to them to disclose if they want to. But the medical is back and they have a current first class. So that's really what we're interested in, right? Obviously that issue got resolved, so we're good to go. So let's look at the hours. Total time 1826, but check this out. This person has almost half their time is SIC. So they have at least 500 PIC, which is what most people are looking for, at least that, right? SIC 719. So my question is going to be, they did upgrade or something. So I got 719 SIC time. So that still leaves, there's a couple hundred hours in there. So total instruments 207. That's pretty good. That's more than most people have at about this hour range. Actual IFR, that's pretty high. For the amount of hours the pilot has, good amount of nighttime, a ton of cross-country time. So that right there, seeing this high cross-country time kind of makes up for these 719 hours that were flown as an SIC. So having a lot of cross-country time speaks to this pilot's experience. They've probably traversed a good part of the country or maybe even international. I have a lot of experience in different weather, climates, terrains, etc. So a lot of cross-country time speaks to your experience. And then a single engine PIC, multi-engine PIC. I like how you broke this down, especially with the experience you have is a little non-typical, with the SIC time, if you're building time that way. So thank you for breaking it all down so that I don't have any questions. So multi-PIC, this person has quite a lot. They also have some turbine time, although it looks like all of that was SIC, but still, this person is familiar with a turbine aircraft, right? They have a type rating. So they've already done a type rating. So when I'm looking at this pilot, as far as, we talk about one of the big things that the airlines look for is, are you going to be able to be successful when you get to training? And it looks like, that yes, because they've already done a type rating. So they've kind of been through, a similar training. So they probably know how to prepare and what to expect a little bit more than someone who's never been through a type rating or something like that. And then, okay, where were we? Okay. So thank you for breaking down the hours. That's extremely helpful. And it really paints a picture of your experience. And so this person has a lot of multi-PIC, so they're able to qualify for some jobs, some multi-engine 135 jobs that most people wouldn't. A lot of those jobs are looking for at least 300, like that's the lowest I've seen a lot of times, is at least somewhere around 300 multi-PIC for some of those jobs, for the PIC job. So this person will have a larger selection of jobs available to them based on this time that they have. So it looks to me like this pilot's qualified, right, for my airline job, whatever that is. They've got the licensing and the hours and all the things. I don't really have any questions as far as are they qualified, right? Got all the things. So let's look at the experience. And this is where I don't like, this is a very hard read, and this looks like a book, and I don't have time to read all this. I want it to stand out. In fact, this is just the currency and recency details. So this pilot, I'm going to assume, probably had a period where they weren't current, and now they're getting back current. And I know they're trying to prove, hey, I'm current. The resume is not the place to do that. I just need to see your work history here. And here's what you want in your work history, because I've been seeing some resumes where stuff's left off. Work history should include the company, the job title, the dates of employment and the location, city and state where that company is located. I've been seeing people leaving where the company is located, or the employment dates, right? So we need all of that information so that we can paint the picture. So this, I'm not worried about reading that right now because I really need just to look at this person's work history. So looks like I'm gonna guess, I'm gonna have to search around for some dates here. Okay. See, don't make your recruiter search for the information. If it's a clean resume, I should have been able to decipher it out already. So they've worked at Southwest Airlines. I'm not sure doing what yet. And they've been there since February 23 to present, and they're a senior navigational analyst. Okay, so something aviation related, right? But not a pilot position. So right now, I don't know if this pilot's flown since February of 23. So let's keep looking. So then there's another job, jet charters, and this person was a pilot. So it looks to me like the last maybe flying job or significant time building event was back in 2019, right? So now this pilot is 6 years out of currency, at least by what the resumes tell me, because I haven't read this, right? But I need to kind of see what they're doing. So, okay, first officer, okay. And then Air America, okay, so they were flying previously, and it looks like there's a break. So let's go see why. Simulator, I don't care if you use Jeppesen charts. I don't care what you use. Every airline uses their own, whether it's the government charts or JEP or whatever. So, if we don't use Jeppesen, I care less if you use Jeppesen. I don't even care about that being on there. And I know you're trying to show your currency, right? Because you haven't flown probably since 2019. But I don't think that this is anything that you're going to be able to prove on the resume. So I would change this. I would definitely put something about the currency. If it's not a job, I would still maybe put that as, but that would go at the bottom. Because we would rather ask you about your currency in the call, right? We're going to say, it's not about and let me tell you, I'm going to give this person some advice. As far as the currency piece, if you really haven't flown, and they're going to ask you, right, because they may be interested in you. You have a lot of really good flight time and multi-time. The big concern is going to be how current are you? How much have you flown since 2019? And I am going to tell you right now, if all you've done since 2019 is get current, do a, an IPC check maybe and a flight review, and you've done maybe, I don't know, let's say it took you 10 hours to do all that and get current. That's not enough. You will not succeed. The chances of you succeeding in airline training are going to be very small. If all you've done is fly enough to barely get current since 2019, I honestly would not advise you to jump into a 121 job right now because your chances of failing training are pretty high. And you definitely don't want that on your record. So what I would recommend to this pilot, if truly all they've done is fly just a little bit to get current and take a written, and that's I've seen this many times, and these pilots do terribly in training that try to do this. So I'm telling you, don't do it. You'd be better off to go, if you truly aren't that current, is to go get a 135 job. You can get a PIC 135 job right now with the time you have. The training won't be as intense as 121. It'll be a little bit easier for you to do that training and get spooled up. Get a year of that under your belt and then go apply to the airlines, because I would have some very serious concerns about this pilot going straight into 121 training if they haven't really done any significant flying since 2019. I would have major concerns about them failing training, even as much as they study, because you've got to be at the top of your pilot game when you go into 121 training, or you are going to seriously struggle. Okay, so that would be my recommendation, that this pilot's hopefully applying not for a 121 job, but maybe something to get them even a nice little caravan job, single engine, just to get you, or Pilatus or something like that, just to get you spooled up so that you're ready. Okay. And then, so it looks like, they had, they've done some flying, but just the fact that you got to tell me you did like 4 approaches tells me you're not current enough. If that's all you've done, right? If you can, you flew 4 and you flew 4 and that's all you did to get current, not enough. 121. I mean, back when they were hiring everybody when there's a shortage, they probably would have hired you and stuck you in training, and then you would have struggled, maybe passed. But if you failed, then that's a black mark on your record, and they didn't do you a justice. So I wouldn't advise this pilot to do that if I were advising them. They had some good experience back when they were doing this, right? But for some reason, and then we can guess because of some of the notes right here, that they had an issue with the medical, and that's what caused the lack of currency. And I hate that for this pilot, and that's unfortunate. If you had more hours, like if you had like 3,000 or 5,000 hours and then took a break like that, it probably wouldn't hit you as hard as taking a gap like that with the lower time. I think that you just need some more flying before you try to jump into 121. And then, okay, so this person was in the military as well. So that's really good. I think, anyone who has been in the military, they come we kind of know they come with some ingrained skill sets that are already there in them. Usually they know how to show up on time. They're pretty good at doing paperwork, things like that. So military, if you have an honorable discharge, but always looks good on a resume. So, if you are a veteran, or if you're active, like if you're in the Guard or something like that, put that on there. That's great. Everyone that we love, one, that you served our country and you're a veteran. But 2, we know that you have a skill set that you received from being in the military that is a good skill set. Okay, and then what else did this person do? Embry-Riddle. So they went to Embry-Riddle, and they have their degree in aeronautical science, so that's great. And then a minor in meteorology and safety. So let me tell you something. Sometimes when you put stuff like this on your resume that you've specialized in a topic, expect, it doesn't always happen, but an interviewer can kind of dive into these subjects maybe more in depth because you have the degree. And I wouldn't say that when, they're getting into that, that's kind of a pass-fail the interview type of questions, but sometimes they just like to dive in and see how deep your knowledge goes, for their own, like, wow, this person's really good at safety. Hey, maybe, when they get their time in, that might be someone I want to reach out to and see if they want to participate in some of our, safety department activities and things like that. So these are always good extras, right? That, hey, this might be an asset to us if we ever need someone. There are line pilots that are involved with the safety department and the program. So maybe you're a good candidate for that. They may want to gauge your interest in the interview. Like, would you ever be interested in that at our company? Like, maybe that's an option for you. And being interested in doing more than just being a pilot at the company. Because there's a lot of little things that you can get involved in as a pilot at an airline. And they like that, right? To see you get involved in the other departments, whether it be the training department or the safety department, things like that. And here we go. I love it. Community involvement and volunteer. I tell everybody, have this section on your resume. So I can see already this person is a safety person. So that's going to tell me is probably going to be a pilot who, safety is the forefront in their mind, because it looks like this person, really, so from this FAA safety team, right? Attends that for the wings program. That's awesome. Those are cool. I remember going to those back in the day. Birds of a Feather, HIMSS recovery meeting. Oh, that is so great. Look at that. I love that. I've never heard of Birds of a Feather. I'm going to have to look them up. That's a nice cause that they have there. And you mentor a fourth grader. So I like the picture that this paints of this person. I feel like they must, obviously do a ton of give back to their community. They mentor, grade school kids. They mentor other pilots. They, go to the wings. So I really like this. I think that this section tells me a lot about this pilot and what kind of pilot they're going to be at my airline, right? And how involved they're going to be. They're going to probably be a very involved, engaged employee. And I like that. And look, engagement. Even got that on their resume, that word. So overall, I think that this resume was okay. I'd say pretty good. It was this part, the job history stuff was just, the formatting was just a little bit harder to decipher. Like I said, it's better if you put bullet points here with specific, things that you've done. Like, I don't want to read all this. Let's get straight to the point, nice and concise, right? There's some stuff on here that is also irrelevant that I think you could probably showcase your skill set a little bit better. But I think that the top part, was good. So I think that this pilot has a lot of great things about them. And I think that they could probably represent themselves a little bit better with a better resume and a really nice cover letter addressing the currency issues that they have and how they're working, to get back on track. That's very important. And I can tell you that whoever is going to call you about a job is going to be very interested in talking about your currency and all those things. But this is a lot of clutter for the resume. And there's a lot of things like, I don't really care how many approaches you did. How much flying have you done in the last 6 months? And how much instrument flying by hours, not how many approaches, how many hours of flying. So expect that question. How much have you flown in the last 6 months, last 90 days? That's very critical. And you want those numbers to be high if you're trying to get recurrent. So that would be my recommendation for this resume. Hopefully you have enjoyed this resume review, and stay tuned for more.